there's a large amount of attendees. Thank you everyone for joining. Hello once more. Hello to everyone and welcome. Welcome to today's webcast. My name is Neil Richards. I'm the Mainframe Solutions Director at CompuWare, and we have got a very interesting story to share. The title is Credit Suisse Share Best Practices for Optimizing IT Costs and Performance on the Mainframe. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker, Mr. Norbert Schorm. He is the Head of Application Performance Management at Credit Suisse. And Norbert he's had a long career in IT, having worked years in IBM before joining the bank. He will discuss, using some really great practical examples, how his team has maximized mainframe performance while reducing costs at the same time at one of the world's most prestigious banks. So now, after the presentation, there will be a Q&A session. You may enter your questions at any time during the webcast, and there is a Q&A panel in the lower right-hand side of your screen. One thing, when you do submit your questions, can you submit them to all panelists? And then at the end of the presentation, we'll address the questions and answer as many as possible. If we haven't got time to do them all, we'll follow up directly with the individuals who have raised those questions. So finally, I would like to mention that this WebEx is being recorded, and each registrant will receive a follow-up email with a link to the recording. And so at this time, I'm sure you're all interested in learning more about this actual case study. And so I would like to turn it over to Mr. Norbert Schorm. Norbert, over to you.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm very delighted to presenting today the key reasons for sharing the Credit Suisse journey to our best practices on mainframe with application tuning. And I also very appreciate from CompuWare that we get here's a platform to do like a customer for customer session, so we can share our experience in this ever-changing market and high competition market. And as Neil already mentioned, I am Head of Application Performance Management at Credit Suisse Group. And if you have any question, please just bring it up and we will answer this. So in application performance management, in my understanding, we have a more competitive market, and everyone can read the newspapers. Banking business is becoming harder and bigger. And in my understanding, how we can differentiate in the competition for customers, there's in IT data management, in my understanding, there's security, and definitely performance management, especially application performance management, because business is using applications. So let's start shortly for an introduction to Credit Suisse Group. Sorry, there's a problem with this. Yes, now it's working. Sorry. We had a little problem with slides. So the agenda now is introduction to Credit Suisse Group, and then how we do application performance management at Credit Suisse. Some key facts about Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse is a global bank headquartered in Zurich, and we have private banking, investment banking, and asset management. And as you can see we are the total numbers of employees is actually a little bit below 50,000. And as you know, competition is very hard, and everything is looking on the cost section. So we are, especially nowadays, everything is under question. Then the long-term ratings are Moody's A2 and so on, Fitch ratings, all these regular things. Okay, now I have our financial strength. In my understanding, it's very good. And we have last year net income of roughly 2 billion Swiss francs. We had the return on equity of about 6%, and total assets, it is from 2011, is 14 billion Swiss franc. And so total the Basel 2.3 Tier ratio is 16.2, what is also pretty high in the market. And assets under management is, you can see, 1.2 billion Swiss francs. So we have actually also a vision, and I'm very happy that we have this vision, that we want to become one of the world's most admired bank. And I like also our vision, or not our vision, our company goal, that we say with diversity is very important in our company. And I think it's very good for each company to do a diversity and to try to be best in this area. So now let's go to the key figures of IT. This is probably more important for you. You see, we have 67,000 support users in about 550 locations. We have about 5 main hubs, and hardware, we have a lot of laptops and workstations, about 97,000 servers, very much 26,000 physical servers. I would always have a big question mark on this. And we have roughly 30 petabytes on storage. And a petabyte, it's normally, everyone knows it's a number with 15 zeros. But 15 zeros, what this is, let's just compare, I think, AT in US, one of the biggest, or maybe the biggest phone companies, they transport, I think, roughly 20 petabytes per day around the globe. Also, Internet archive in San Jose is, as far as I know, is about also 30 petabytes. So 30 petabytes just in our Credit Suisse is also relatively huge. We have 7 also mainframes and about 73,000 of MIPS provided. Then, especially our part, we have 6,000 applications. This is brings a lot of complexity, but I will show you how we deal with this complexity. And we have emails, where I have sometimes the problem is a number of 7.5 million emails per day. If you calculate it by 50,000 users, then you can see 150 emails per day is pretty much in my understanding. So, but we have to work on this to decrease this number. Now our data center at Credit Suisse. This is the actual mainframe data center in Credit Suisse from 1st of March about. We have a parallel distance Swissplex, multi-site Swissplex. That means we have 2 data centers. One is Horgen and one is in Zurich located. And my team has the main focus here on RZ2. This is the production, which consists of S21, S22, these are the system images, up to S26. So my team has here the main focus because production, this is the most important part in our Credit Suisse. Here we are running our key applications for the business and our valued customers. And the configuration, if you see, it looks like a little bit, not, maybe you will say from a technical point of view, you can have some questions to this, but this is definitely also a price flex. Because as vendors introduced software-dependent license charges, also customers have to take care of their costs, and actually, especially at these days, we have more and more, we have to focus on our cost structure and IT cost, and there's a lot of pressure also on the mainframe. And I'm actually in several initiatives involved that we can optimize our mainframe platform. Finally, this will also, if you has a continuous improvement of mainframe platform, this is also good for the platform itself. So we have four in Horgen and in Zurich. We have four mainframes. This is a newest technology from IBM, and we are very happy to have this. And Credit Suisse invested a lot of money in the last year. Okay, now application performance managers. How we do this in Credit Suisse? As already mentioned, application performance management is very, very important in Credit Suisse because we are very close to the business. Last week I was actually together a big meeting with business, how we can fulfill their requirements and how we can optimize together. So application performance management is definitely one point where you get close to the business. Now our journey from our team in the past years. This is just an overview. Works from Operation Excellence project and then start on with 2.8 and 2.10 and so on. So we had our maximum focus of we call it savings. We calculate any improvement which we do for our application. We make not calculations in MSUs or MIPS or ITS. You can do everything, but if you have 10 or 15 people in a meeting, most people will not understand this. So we take the way we always translate it into Swiss franc. There's only one other option, maybe US dollar. So I really like it very much, and it's also appreciated from highest management. If we do optimization figures, if we show them in a value, who everyone understands who is in the room. If you have MIPS and MSUs, you have always to explain, and so Swiss franc is very worldwide, no Swiss franc, and it's the same with the US dollar. So if I would be in US, we would use US dollar. So, okay, so you can see on our journey, we started with, this was a saving per year, what was capitalized or a savings in internal cost accounting, because, for example, for each batch job, for each transaction and so on, we have costs per MSUs, let's say 4 Swiss francs for one MSU on online operations or transactions or batch jobs. So we have internal pricing. So I think each customer has probably this in the same way. And then we recalculate this into the before and after scenario. When you have optimizations, then we can see, okay, from week 15 on, we had reduced by 50% consumption and increased the throughput and so on. Here, in this overview, we show only the savings. The high benefit which our customers get to better throughput or response time is not shown here. So, which is sometimes even more important. But for financial aspects, the saving is very high of interest. So if you calculate together, we had a total saving in just a few years of roughly 20 million Swiss francs. And just as of today, that we have also a very, very, very good ratio MIPS per transaction and so on, and or unit of work. We are carrying a very high range compared to other IT area companies. So now our performance management services. First, we monitor and control the MSU consumption online and batch on mainframe. This is one of our missions. And then we optimize the runtime and the throughput for all bank applications. I have to be more precise here. We do for all bank key applications. This is here we have our focus. And then we bring the monthly. We have a very nice monthly report. You can see a little bit later. This is one of our key parts of in our team. We make a monthly reporting. It covers 15 months. where all domains applications are shown, how the consumption is distributed between domains, applications, jobs, and transactions. And this is sent every month up to the top management. All top management get this. This shows transparency to the management and shows where we are, in which areas of the consumption are going, and definitely also then the costs are related to this. And we use it then perfectly to do a proactive application performance management. This is the next part, proactive consultancy. We do it for performance measurements analysis on domains and projects, where definitely is the best proactive part, where we also started since 1 or 2 years to step in as early into the IT projects. We have very, very big IT projects in Europe, and the best thing is, so earlier you avoid the failure, let's say, the less cost. Later on, if it's going into testing and in product acceptance test and later maybe in production, then if you have to do some changes, it becomes really expensive. So our approach is always to be very, very proactive, and this is also especially, so we start very early to be in projects. Then we do skill transfers, because I'm also a former instructor also in the education center. I'm very focused on proactive skill transfers. I don't like if someone is always coming to want to have to know this, and then he gets some explanation and solution, and then he can go a little bit forward, and then he has to come back and ask. I think people who have skill have to transfer this as proactive to other team members, to other resources, and so on. So we do it also with key developers. They are normally not very high skilled in performance management, but then we say, okay, join our team for a start, and then in 4-6 weeks you can get information how we work, and this is a win-win situation. We know better the application and the developers, we get the better network, and they get the value directly from our team and can use up to a specific part to themselves. Okay, then we do analysis and tuning which is always important for nearly all customers. This is a daily batch processing, especially month-end is always a topic, or quarter processing and month processing are like, I would say, always a Grand Prix in IT. So because thousands of batch jobs are run through our mainframes, and it's unbelievable how much and how good everything is performant. This is parallelism and all these things. This is just great. And also the year-end processing is in our Grand Prix of Monte Carlo. So then we support the bank IT operation in all performance-related issues. We want to be involved in all performance issues, at least informed, because then we get our point of view, and it's always good to get a second opinion and so on. And it's always bad to say later, if we would know this, then we would give this recommendation. Later on, everything has not too much worth. So, but if you get always the information about the issues, about key issues, then it's better. IT is team working per definition. Without team working, nothing is nearly possible. So, and we try to force it and do it as good as possible, with all areas. So I mentioned already our 6,000 applications, how you can deal with 6,000 applications, and this really complexity and this enormous workload with what is running on our mainframes is unbelievable, and how we deal it. So we have a so-called application landscape, a combined domain model. Here we break up this, that means we bring all trading. If you see here we have all applications and domains related to payments, and then we have single accounts, then we have custody, and just for an example, here you have enterprise content management. This is the domain ECM. It looks very easy, very nice, but here it's our electronic archive. And just on the electronic archive from Credit Suisse, SBIP, is about, I think it's 35 billion documents. 35 billion documents. Is in this, in our ECM, in the electronic archive. This is the only way where you can do a balance account if you want to have a banking account from A to Z to verify. You can do it only by this electronic archive. So here you can see this is how we do it in Credit Suisse to break up the complexity, and I think complexity is anywhere a big point and a big topic, and we break it up with landscape, application landscape, and the combined domain model. And this is very, very useful, and it was a very good idea from our architectures here. So, then I personally like very much always the approach, don't step too early into the detail. Because if you are wrong, then you are probably wrong forever. Maybe a colleague or someone else can help out. But if you are too quick in the detail, then there's some danger. Therefore, we look always from top to bottom. We go always one step by step forward. And in my opinion, we know the Chinese statement, don't be afraid of little steps, but be afraid of stagnation. So if you always go forward in the right correct direction, with little steps, I'm perfect, happy, and so on. So we break up here, for example, the batch. What are the top domains? Here you can see on the left side, top 3 domains batch. So financial market information, you can see enterprise content management. This is our electronic archive. This NA here we are always working. This is something that's not applicable to a specific domain, so it has always to be readjusted. Then here we have the top domains for batch and online, with his payments on top, and so on. So this is also a first indication who is using all the resources, and then we can concentrate on the top consumers and so on. This is similar here. Here we break it down to the month-wise consumption on, for example, here you can see we have for RZ2 the development from March to April to May and so on and to August. Who is using how much service units, that means CPU resources, and how is the development. We want to see from our different data center or data centers, we want to see who are the top consumers beside production, and how is the development according to see the trend. So you can see production is normally 58%, and product acceptance is 25%, and IT maybe 10, 15, and so on. This is again a breakdown. This is interesting. Here you can see the trend of our in production. Also RZ2 is production, all shifts. So IMS transaction in RZ2, I think it's also an impressive number. If you see here, the purple line is number of transactions. You can see in August, for example, 2011, we have about 700 million transactions per month. And here you can see how many fixed transactions we have. Then the batch transactions should be batch shops. This is about 3 million batch shops per month. So you roughly calculate per working day 80,000 and so on. So these are the first indications and trends which we want to see. Here is a part. I show only just in a little summary or a part from our reports and our approach. So here you can see from our monthly report, which we distribute up to top management. Here you can see first the 15-month trend. This is, I think, from January, from June to August, or July to August 11. over 15 months, there we had the first trend overall. That means for SPIP production overall, here you can see what is the trend in August and so on. And we want always to know, for example, if you see here it's July to 11 compared with August to 11. If you have an increase, we want always to know why was this increase. I want to know, is this increase business related or is this something different? If you have an explanation for this, or that means business related, we have no problem. But if new applications, new modules and so on are introduced or whatever, we want to know an answer why is the difference. And here then the report then you have especially then for batch. Here you can see the number of batch stops, then again broke up into IMS and CICS. And this here, next foil, is also part of our important monthly, we call it monthly report. Here on the left side, here you can see, here we built up our, where I stated in a few foils before, our combined domain model. Here we have built up in our monthly report a combined domain model. From, you see again, enterprise content management. How many MSUs it was using in August. Then important for us is also the heaviness. That means how much service units you consumed per batch shop or per transaction. Because with this heaviness, we have not such discussion, less working days, more working days in this or this month or whatever. So the heaviness really indicates that there was a consumption increase. And then we say here, what is the difference? If it's below 10%, then we mark it green and say, okay, from this point of view, it's green. If it's higher than 10%, then we mark it yellow. And if it's higher than 20%, then we mark it red. And on the other side, because it's this very high numbers of jobs and transactions, we want always, there's always another trigger point possible. That means this is, if you have 80,000 batch jobs or 700 billion transactions per month, then also transactions or batch jobs which are not visible in this report can bring up high consumption or bad run times. So it could be, then we call it here potential. Even if it's green, this does not only mean green in terms of this monthly report. But we have also trigger points from developers, from application, from business that we have in this area potential. But this is one, and then everyone can go, we send it to the management and to the application owners, and then everyone can go directly to his own domain, or, for example, to ECM, and then he gets just the detailed information about his applications and domains and what we are doing. This is here the example. If you go, for example, to the payments report, then you get just the information, what we said, IMS transaction, batch shops, and so on, the trend. And then we say, okay, where we have an application with increase of greater 5%, this is for us our optimization potential, who is a responsible developer person, who is a responsible manager, sector leader, and what is the current state, and then remarks, information, what is reduced by what, and if there is an improvement. This is very helpful for us and brings a lot of transparency and teamwork together. Then we have here, this is, I call it the data center report. You want just to see the trend over years, how the extrapolation or how the consumption is in our production systems or in our data center in IMS point of view, consumption-wise, year by year, and also in terms of number of transactions or number of batch jobs. This is also valuable for us just to see the year-by-year trend, because normally we want to keep it, we want to run as much applications with just optimized resources. And here you can see ouch and some examples. So here is about the approach, how we do to start investigation our application performance management. So we use maybe watch lists. You can use any watch list. So we have watch lists for batch, for everything, for transactions, heaviness. Then this could be a trigger point. Then the monthly report, and then we have also DB2 trend, for example. And then we do our investigation, and then we try to figure out where is the potential, and we try to find solutions. But this is always teamwork together with development, with our technical infrastructure and so on, and with our team. And together then we can bring up or really optimize transactions and batches. Just to see an example, this was an IMS picture I show you here. And we have many of these samples. So we have IMS transaction CK53. It was running in RZ2. And here you can see on the left side, the MSU consumption was for weeks and weeks, about 1,600, let's say 1,600 MSUs per week. Then here at this point, we introduced, here we investigated at one time, and then we introduced an improvement, an optimization. And then you can see the consumption dropped from roughly 1,600, sometimes you think close to zero. Here on this line, this is maybe from 1,600 MSUs, maybe 95% are gone. This is only an example for an IMS transaction. Then we have here an example for a batch job. And we started at about with 800 MSUs or 700 MSUs, and now when we first saw here this improvement, we thought, this is an improvement. Now then we have to go here down. You see, this it goes down close to zero. So we have several, I think maybe between 70 and 100 cases per year. Not all are from this quality, but up to 100 improvement cases per year. Okay, some examples from our project consultancy. So very important in Createvis is this extended booking system, as you just can see from the name. Booking systems is always important in banking business. So here, DB2 DIPSI, this is a special, these are how you use indexing in DB2. And this was introduced, and then we keep also an eye always what was the change, because we don't like to have any impact to XPS. It's one of our key applications. And then we have this on the monitor and look what is pre-DIPSI and post-DIPSI, and how is the transaction behavior. And so if something new introduced, important thing is that at least nothing negative has to come up. And then we can start to leverage these new options or DB2 possibilities. Then we can leverage in the future and improve. Okay, then we are doing also critical situation support. That means any time if there is maybe bank-wide impact, we have to work very close together with all teams. So we had a bank-wide impact for month-end delays in 2010 and 2011. And then we had also an online high-low workload queuing issue. So it's also bank-wide impact for online banking. And so then we are normally always directly involved together with other teams. And then team working again is very, very important. So performance and know-how or know-how sharing. We're running also business school. We have a known business school. We run, it's called ASEM. This is a software engineering mainframe education for new hired from universities, as any company. Also, Createvis want to hire always the best people from the universities, and I know it from the own course which I run. They are really very, very good, but they have not too much mainframe experience. But if you transfer the information appropriately, and then they are very enthusiastic also for the mainframe. And they are very smart, and it's not a big problem that they can dive into the mainframe business. And I'm also very happy users see a lot of money and bring always new hired young talents to the mainframe, because it's important for the future. Then we run offshore and XR performance training. Then we make processor presentations and so on. And as already mentioned, we do stages for major banking applications related to performance management. So what tools may be interesting for you? So we are very, very happy to have our Strobe tool, because as you know, at one time you can go from top to bottom, but at one time you have to know the details where you can turn the knobs and where you can improve the application and where you can see how in the IMS transactions, who is consumption distributed in detail. And here is definitely the Strobe part is our backbone, and we are running, we educating also young talents already with Strobe, that they get knowledge about if they are doing something on a platform. They are definitely always costs and resources related. And also our developers, everyone who can leverage this is using Strobe, and we're supporting them. And that if they make some changes in applications or jobs and in modules, and they run a before and after scenario, and then they can easily see, okay, how is the consumption changed? And here we are doing a really good job with our Strobe measurements, and we have now then we are very happy to have the new 4.2, because then we have directly also DB2 information, which was a very good, very important in our understanding. But this is DB2 we do only just from our performance management team. Then we have also iStrobe. I personally like also the iStrobe part, because it is very useful with its help areas, and also the presentation form is very useful. And immediately if you run a Strobe measurement, then you get some hints in which area you should investigate. So we are really heavily using this tool. Then we have the chain tool, where we use the monthly reports and watch lists and so on. Here, just as an example, here is the watch list maybe from, or this is a weekly report from IMS consumption. And here we check the IMS transaction CK53. Here, this was what we see in the previous foil, how it goes down. This was a different slots where the IMS transaction was running, and it goes down close to zero. And here then we have the watch lists. So we have always the top consumers, for example, who is using in batch or in online, the 15 top consumers, or the 15 transactional batch shops which are running the longest time. And also from this watch list, we are selecting then appropriate investigations from our point of view. So this is also a trigger point for us. Then we want to also know how the overall behavior is. So we had also the RMF installed. So basically we have a lot of tools installed. We from our team, we just use the tools which we have here, and then select the appropriate set of tools to start the investigation. And as already mentioned, I like always to have an overview, and we get this very easily from RMF. So we have some focus on system behavior, on workloads, and system images, and basically on job delays. Then we use also the visualizer management tools, just to get some trends, to see if you make an action in batch, it has this an impact to online. here you can see this is an online transaction in general, and it's normally always, let's say, below 0.5 and here on this day it becomes really a big spike, and we know then this has an impact. So the batch change has probably an impact to online. So if you improve something in batch, we have also to take care what is in the online area. And here you can see some highlights we had achieved in 2.11, which I already mentioned, and some samples. So we have here one improvement. This was, I think, a batch shop. Here's a stack size optimization. So with the stack size optimization, this has something to do with storage. Here you can see the job run time was reduced by 40 to 50%, and the processing was reduced by 40 to 50%, and also consumption was reduced by 75%. So these are really very nice figures, and we like this very much if you can show these kind of examples. Here's the same. We have as an example with SQL tuning. Many of you will know SQL tuning, DB2, and so is really a key part, because SQL is running always. It's only a matter of how much the consumption is. And here you can see if we make it smarter with application, then the consumption drops really sharply. And again, here one example of very good teamwork. This is the consumption of again of a batch job. And okay, you can see by yourself. In performance management, application performance management, you can really deliver a very high value to IT and the business, because basically how you want to differentiate. If you get best performance in our areas, then it's definitely a business advantage. And you can see we have also increased the number of migration jobs from 80 per hour to maybe 3,500 for a migration project, and this is factor 40. So this is a lot of cost what we can reduce and contribute to our IT success in Credit Suisse. So finally, I'm done with the journey, how we do application performance management, that you get an introduction how we run this. So I would be interested what your point of view is and what kind of questions you have.
So thank you, Norbert. Thank you very much. That was very interesting, and the numbers you shared were very impressive, especially the savings which you've achieved. So now it is time to take questions from the audience. As I mentioned, you can ask questions by entering it into the Q&A panel. It's the lower right side of your screen. So when you do submit questions, please be sure to submit your questions to all participants so that we can see all the questions coming in. And like I said earlier, if we're not able to answer all of today's questions, then due to time restrictions or just not having the information available, we will definitely follow up. So
Yes, this is a question from William. And this is, are you able to consult a majority of the time with development teams early in the cycle? A majority time, not. But if depending on the impact and of the priority, we will take all our time to be as much as early together with the development team. And we are very close to the development teams. It's depending always on the situation. But we will definitely consult the development team. And also we are now in a stage, even we want to prepare a special performance management course for all developers. So also from our sector, we make also some kind, we call it a classic forum for developers. And this is also very, very appreciated from them. and with a lot of attendees. And this is the exchange you need from performance management or the application performance management to the development, because we are very related to each other. Is this fine for you? Okay, the next question, William, do you see application teams moving to or away from mainframe processing? Not really. If you can see, we have an increase also on transactions on mainframe. We have an increase also in the electronic archives. I think we have maybe 1 year ago we had maybe 70 or 80 million documents per day delivered, and now maybe it's per week, and now it's maybe sometimes 150 million per week. So it always depends. How we have to use the platform. What is the best for the application? So for presentation and so on, but for throughput and very huge data volume and parallelism and so on. And we know all these figures. So we are very fine on the mainframe. So, and we have also, I think we have PL1 developers. So I think we have a few hundred developers that are still on mainframe. So is this fine for you, William? Okay, then next question from Jeff Wilkinson. How do you overcome project demands to implement against optimization demands to introduce efficiencies? How do you overcome project demands in implement against? Yes, extra testing is in general, we have an actual case where we are involved. So there are some modules we figured out via our approach is a main module, and about 160, and these are two system modules, let's say. About 160 components are accessing this module. And then we get in touch with, or we make a meeting with the developer and with the management. And then we talk about our approach, and then we show already a solution, because for sure, if something is already in production and so on, no one wants to have an impact because of a change. But if we show them, and we provide already, let's say, a very close to 100% or 95% solution together with development, then they feel secure, and then they feel fine to implement. And so if you are working very close with the development and also with the management, and to show that there's always a rest of impact, but you can never be sure if you change something, nothing will happen. But we want to show the risk is minimized and the benefit is very high. And then also with our translation to Swiss franc and so on, if we can show we can save 500,000 Swiss francs per year with application performance management, at least at this point, all managers get nervous and get the commitment. So, okay. Then, and testing we have to do anyway. Then we do testing together, and this is business as normal. Then you go to an IT and PTA, and finally then in production.
So Norbert, there's another question here, which was a little bit about how proactive you were. And the question was more, the use of iStrobe in development. How do you get developers brought in to start early in the life cycle? How did you engage with them? And also, how many people out in development are helping you, being proactive, using solutions like iStrobe to tune their applications?
I don't know exactly of these hundreds of developers, but I think this is very, very many hundreds of developers are using iStrobe or Strobe, because if they change something in their application with Strobe or a tool like Strobe or iStrobe, then you get the needed information. How is the distribution? How the SQLs? What modules are using what? Because if you're a developer, basically you have to change in a module. And if you change in a module, then you're interested what is the impact or what are the resources used now by the module and so on. So they make a function test, but basically they want also to see how the performance is. So I know the Strobe is very well used in Credit Suisse, and it must also be used in my understanding. Because if you don't use such a tool, how you want to figure out what do you consume? You're always interested in what a car is using, mileage per gas gallon and so. And if you have an application which costs millions or 100,000, then you should also know what is this part using, and if I waste some or I can optimize something. So
that's a good analogy. Always. That's a good analogy, looking at tuning opportunity in terms of the mainframe is an expensive asset, so you always want to get the maximum out of it. There was another interesting question, and that was earlier on in your presentation. You mentioned that senior managers were interested in what your team results were, and that you do monthly reports. This question was related a little bit about who was interested, what levels of management, and why was it so important to them?
Yes, because where they get transparency about, for example, mainframe or the platform overall. You have to also show transparency to the top management. And also, if you go to our chief architect, already mentioned in the last meeting that he was very happy to get the monthly report, because then he can see which domains, which applications are the top consumers very easily. So it's just for transparency. So and to see also what actions are done, or is the consumption increasing? Is the consumption increasing and in parallel also the workload increasing, or is just the consumption increasing? So you get a lot of information out of these reports, and therefore I think the top management appreciates this kind of reports. At least we get this feedback from chief architecture, and we have this feedback also from highest management. Even they have some questions to the monthly report. So they say, why is this, because if they have some technical background, then they say, I see this and this, why is this increase there? Do you have an explanation and so on? What you are doing in this area? So I think it's just a very good idea to come up with this monthly report.
Thank you very much. So Norbert, I'm conscious of time. We're approaching the top of the hour, and we had some technical difficulties, so I could see you were answering a number of questions, but I couldn't hear myself. So I think we've answered most of the questions. If we haven't answered all of the questions, then I apologize, but we will be consolidating all the questions. If there's one which we missed or a couple which we've missed, we will get back to the individuals because we've got them logged. So, in closing, I really want to thank you once more. This concludes today's webcast presentation. Thank you to our audience, everyone who's joined us, for your time. I hope you found the insight from Credit Suisse very interesting. And thank you again to Mr. Schramm. Norbert, we really appreciate you sharing your story, your practical examples of how you've dramatically tuned the mainframe and saved significant amounts of money. So thank you very much for your time today, everyone, and bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.